Sports Talk with Craig Ballard, your boy Craig Ballard right here. Thank you for joining me. You know how much I appreciate that. If you have already subscribed to the YouTube channel, much love, much appreciation for that. If you haven't yet, please do subscribe to the Craig Ballard 77 YouTube channel. Also, check me out on craigballard77.blogspot.com. Going to have some YouTube information there as well, absolutely, but also going to have, or already has every link to the Sports Talk with Craig Ballard shows that I did on morencysports.com. And some written blogs from the past as well. And you know me, I'm a football, baseball, and a basketball guy. So lots of written blogs on those three sports as well. Got some Steve Nash stuff, some Dan Marino, some Magic Johnson, some Jose Bautista, some George Bell. All kinds of different stuff in there for you. Definitely check that out if you get a chance. I certainly hope you enjoy that. Around here on Sports Talk on the YouTube channels, you know that every week we take our weekly look at the week that was in the National Football League. And we hand out some game balls for performances that impressed us. And of course some lame balls for the exact opposite. Let's go ahead and get it started here. Week 10, NFL game balls and lame balls. Let's start with a game ball going out. We're sending about, 60, 70 game balls to Foxborough because just about everybody on that New England Patriot roster from this past weekend gets a game ball. That was an extremely impressive victory. I thought that New England came out ahead more than any other team in the NFL this past week with a huge, huge victory. For me, this was a restore order victory for this New England team. If you look at the landscape of the AFC East coming into this game, you had an upstart Buffalo Bill team, you had a New York Jet team playing their best football of the year as well, and a New England team playing their worst football of the year in 2011. So a very, very tight race in that division. As far as I was concerned, the Patriots, Tom Terrific and the Brady Bunch restored order this past week going into New York, laying an ass whipping on the Jets, reestablishing themselves as the beast of the AFC East, and in my mind, reestablishing themselves or sending out a word to the rest of the AFC that, hey, do not sleep on us, folks. Sure, we've struggled these last couple weeks, yes, but way more often than not, folks, let's remember that we, the New England Patriots, are an offense that's going to score in the 30s way more often than not, folks. And I thought they reestablished themselves as an absolute legitimate, not just in the AFC East, but bigger picture, AFC contender for the Super Bowl this year. I thought that was on display this last week. I was really impressed with that. If you look at this Patriots team going forward now, folks, their remaining schedule is extremely favorable. 21-43. 21-43, folks, is the combined record of the New England Patriots' remaining opponents. So a ton of softies remaining on that New England schedule. The only team even with a winning record that remains are the Buffalo Bills at 5-4. And I mean, spoiler alert, folks, the Bills stink, and New England is not going to lose twice in this season, especially the second game will be with Buffalo. The game coming up here will be in New England, so really, really favorable for the Patriots down the stretch. They go ahead and set themselves up in this last week with a big victory. I was impressed there. Several games will spread out the game balls to that New England organization. Another team this past week that had a big victory, I thought, were the Oakland Raiders in that very, very tight AFC West. A game ball goes out to Michael Bush. Wow, what a job this guy this past week. I remember it was a Thursday game as they went to struggling San Diego and fed San Diego another loss as San Diego continues their free fall. In the AFC West, Oakland with that win now at 5-4. And you have Kansas City, Denver, and KC Kansas City, Denver, and San Diego, beg your pardon, all at 4-5. So the Raiders establishing themselves with a one-game lead in that division. And no Darren McFadden for this game, folks. No problem. Michael Bush, more than a capable backup. How about 30 carries, 157 yards, and a touchdown for Michael Bush this last week? Wow, really, really big numbers. Really impressive. Definite game ball for Michael Bush. Lame ball, our first lame ball. And let's get the crowd booing here for the performance that we saw this past week from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, Raheem Morris has to be beside himself. He has to be phenomenally disappointed with the way his team has performed these last couple weeks. Last week, no exception to how poorly this team has struggled in 2011, in particular lately. Another loss for this team. 231 yards for this Tampa Bay offense this past weekend. Wow, an extremely low number. You look at Josh Freeman, their quarterback, 15 for 33. Not even 50%. I mean, those are brutal numbers. 33.6 passer rating this past week for Josh Freeman. Wow, I mean, just putrid numbers. The National Football League, folks, and we've spoken about this before, it is all about third down conversions. This Tampa Bay putrid offense this past weekend, 3 for 13 on third down conversions. Terrible, terrible numbers, a terrible performance. Definite lame ball for that Tampa Bay team. Game ball, Tony Romo. Hey, stand up, Dallas Cowboy fans. Tony Romo earning himself a game ball this past weekend. He was marvelous, folks. How about 23 for 26 completions? Wow, extremely a proficient game, extremely efficient game by Tony Romo this past weekend. And if you're a Cowboy fan, what you have to love, folks, how about 3 interceptions versus 0? 3 touchdowns, big part, 3 touchdowns versus 0 interceptions for Tony Romo this past week. I mean, if you're a Cowboy fan, I'm speaking to you right now, and you're singing Tony Romo's praises this past week. That's what you're looking for from this guy. We know that. In that same football game, other side of the ball now, other side of the coin, a lane ball for Ryan Fitzpatrick, the other quarterback in this game. Ryan Fitzpatrick, and of course, anytime we're going to give Ryan Fitzpatrick a lane ball, we're going to send a co-sign a lane ball as well, or send a co-lane ball to the Buffalo Bill management. We spoke on game balls and lane balls a couple weeks ago when the Bills gave Ryan Fitzpatrick that 6-year, $60 million extension. What a major swing and a miss that was by the Bills organization. What a lane ball that was. And we talked about the plethora of reasons for that. I mean, A, Ryan Fitzpatrick is not a legitimate NFL quarterback, folks. B, your actual star on offense, Fred Jackson, is looking around saying, where the hell's my extension here? Are you kidding me? How do you have Fred Jackson looking around saying, where the hell is the attention to me? Where's my extension? And you re-up with Ryan Fitzpatrick first? I mean, what? Making no sense, Buffalo. As per usual, you're making no sense. And C, how about things like 6 years, $60 million for Ryan Fitzpatrick? Are you kidding me, Buffalo? Who the hell did you think you were competing against? Who did you think you were bidding against? What owners and general managers are out there with their checkbooks ready to sign Ryan Fitzpatrick for 6 years, $60 million? Ridiculous. This past week, again, Ryan Fitzpatrick struggled. 146 yards, 1 touchdown pass versus 3 interceptions. Said it before, folks. I'll move on, fine, but Ryan Fitzpatrick, not a legitimate NFL quarterback. Game ball. Believe it or not, folks, Chris Johnson with the game ball this past week. He's had numerous lane balls in 2011. This is the first time he's been on the game ball list. Actually had a Chris Johnson sighting, believe it or not, this past week. Finally, Tennessee Titan fans are sitting there saying, finally, we had a performance of note from our holdout that got the huge money in the offseason. The guy we thought was our stud on offense, Chris Johnson. This past week, he finally did put together a good football game. 27 carries, 130 yards, and he took it to the house as well in a victory for Tennessee. So we were impressed there. Game ball as well for, how about a Larry Fitzgerald, folks? You talk about a guy who's on the game ball list seemingly every week. Larry Fitzgerald. This guy's a special, special talent. We know that. No starting quarterback in Arizona? No problem. Got some guy named Skelton as your quarterback? No problem. You got Larry Fitzgerald as your wide receiver, and he is an absolute stud, authoring a Hall of Fame career here. He has been something completely special and will continue to be special. Arizona goes into Philadelphia. Their offense only puts up 2 touchdowns, but still enough to get an upset victory. And how about both of those touchdowns scored by Larry Fitzgerald, folks? This guy is something else. 7 catches, 146 yards, and those 2 touchdowns this past weekend as he continues a good 2011, continues a good career. I mean, I love this guy a lot. I'm sure you do too. In that same football game, Arizona-Philly, other side of the ball, now Philadelphia, lane ball, Michael Vick. Wow. I talked earlier about Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Fitzpatrick will never see that 6-year, $60 million contract. He'll be cut way before that ever comes to fruition. Well, same idea with Michael Vick. Remember a couple months ago he signed that 10-year, $100 million extension. He will never see that $100 million. Never, 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 never. A, Michael Vick is not that good. B, he's extremely injury prone because that offensive line in Philly is a punchline, and Michael Vick in his head is way off as far as having a legitimate, realistic understanding of when can I scramble, when do I need to just get down because I'm about to take a big hit. So injuries are going to be a factor going forward for Vick. There's no doubt about that. Talent is always an issue with Michael Vick as far as I'm concerned. This past week, folks, 34 passes, 16 completions. To throw 34 times and not even complete 50% is terrible. And we talked earlier about third downs in the NFL, and we always speak around here on the importance of third downs in the National Football League. The NFL is all about third down conversions. Wow, Michael Vick and the Philadelphia offense this past weekend, a putrid 3 for 15 on third down conversions. Terrible, terrible numbers. That's not going to get it done against any football team. Really, really disappointing. His quarterback rating of 32.5. I mean, wow. Really, really terrible numbers this past week. Michael Vick, lame ball. Our final game ball, Sports Talk with Craig Ballard, week 10 in the NFL, game balls and lane balls, our final game ball that we'll hand out. And we sent Foxborough, we sent them a ton of game balls to spread out throughout their entire team. We'll send the Miami Dolphins 11 game balls to spread out throughout their offense, because this was an impressive performance as far as I was concerned this past week in a victory at home against the Redskins. There weren't really individual numbers or individual performances that stand out. I like how it was the team effort. I mean, Reggie Bush did take it to the house twice, but he only had like a 40-something yard, so it wasn't a monster game for Reggie Bush. It wasn't a monster game for any player, really. But what I love here and why they're getting a game ball, spoke earlier about the NFL, all about third down conversions. Miami Dolphins this past weekend, folks, 8 for 14 on third down conversions. That is impressive. That is getting it done. They were good enough, very good on first down, and good enough at least on second down to create third and manageable. And to their credit, they were converting those third and manageable. So really impressive there. And our final game ball and lane ball, we're going to hand out a lane ball. This is the first time ever, folks. A lane ball, a blame ball, and a shame ball, all rolled up in one. And it goes to Mike Smith, the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. I don't know if you saw this game this last week, folks, but wow. From the time the ref did the coin toss at the beginning to get that game started to the time where the Atlanta Stadium had completely emptied. So from the very, very, very beginning of the game to the very, very end of the game and everything in between, I've never seen a more poorly coached football, baseball, or basketball game. I've never seen a coach do a worse job for an entire game as Mike Smith this past week. The clock management was an absolute punchline, folks, a joke. The plays that he chose to challenge, a joke. The strategy and the play calling during the game, a joke. He goes for it on fourth down in overtime, 4th and inches from his own 29-yard line. So everybody on earth that's watching this football game knows that if he needed this many yards, folks. He needed that many yards to pick up the first down and extend that drive in overtime. And we know if he doesn't get it, the game's over. We need that many yards. And the play they run was a handoff to Michael Turner. They handed the ball off to Turner about 4.5 yards deep in the backfield. So to go this far, you start your play about 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Completely ridiculous. It's against the goal line defense, so you know New Orleans has just, and instead of a 3 or 4 man rush, they've got about 8 or 9 guys right up on the line. If any of them get penetration, that play's blown up. And of course, man, about 4 or 5 of them got penetration and blew that play up. New Orleans goes on to win that game. Horrible performance by Mike Smith. I'd actually love to hear from the viewers out there if you can recall a football, basketball, or baseball game in the past where you've seen a worse job by a coach. I'd love to hear it. I love to interact with you on any sports issues, but I definitely want to hear from you here. Like, not things like in 1986, I remember Pat Riley did this, 93, Cito Gasson did this, not individual examples. I'm asking, can you remember full games that were as putrid, as brutal, as embarrassingly bad as the one that Mike Smith put together this last week? Hit me up on Twitter, at CraigBallard77. Remember the blog spot and the YouTube information that we talked about before. Sports Talk with Craig Ballard, your boy Craig Ballard. The next video we'll have will be Week 11. We'll have some NFL Week 11 picks and tidbits for you. Sports Talk with Craig Ballard coming at you, folks. Man, love that you're joining me. Really appreciate it, and we'll see you again soon.